Hello, everyone. I'm making this video to share with you some details about the assignments, discuss a little bit the purpose of this course, this introduction to qualitative course, and to go over the, brief description of the assignments for this course. I will share. I'll start by sharing the syllabi so we can review some important points and the syllabi, the information there, and give you more details that you might be, needing now for as you start completing the first assignments and preparing for your big projects. Which are two projects, one overarching final project in qualitative research project, and then the secondary or the first phase that will be mostly related to field work, gaining skills in the field, conducting interviews and observations. So let's go one by one. Okay, I wanted to start by just reiterating that this course is designed to introduce the process and procedures used to conduct qualitative research. We will be discussing the paradigms, methodologies, and ethics of qualitative research, and we'll place some particular attention to the naturalistic settings, and how this approach is based, focuses on the individual lived experiences, and then in at the institutional and societal level. Okay, we will be addressing issues in education, so I encourage you to think of a topic that addresses your research interest. I know we have different specialties, different programs that take this class, but we want to align your research interest with a specific issue in education. Okay, so it has to be related to education, whether it is at the pre-K, K-12, or higher education, adult education, but in connection with your field of interest. Okay, you have the books, the test books. Let's move to the assignments section so we can address those, describe those for you. Well, remember that we have this assignment chart, and just explaining, breaking down assignments and the points that you have for each of those assignments. The IRB certification or city certificate is a training that you will complete, includes about 14 modules, 10 core modules, and some that are for selections that you have to complete, about 14 modules to complete the training. This is a certificate that will guide you through all the ethics, all the protocols of conducting research with human subjects. This is a very important certificate. Takes for some people it takes a couple of hours for completing the training. A little less, a little more, depending on how the time you take for reading, processing, and completing the modules. And this certificate is very important because this is required in all research courses. So if you take it now, you can, and it is valid for about 3 years. So if you take it now, the certificate will be useful for other research courses. If you already took this, you are taking, this is the second class or third class you take with me, you know that from the first one, we always take this certification training at the beginning. And then you can use it for other classes if required. It will be the same certificate. You can also put this in your CV, and this is an important certification that adds value to your profile. Okay, the lead review. Let me just quickly, and then we can go into specific, into more specific as we flesh out each one of the assignments. All the assignments will build up towards the final paper, the final project. So the lead review, the literature review, is a review of research articles, empirical articles, that are related to the topic of your interest, the topic that you're using for your project, for your class project. So if you are interested in literacy and reading interventions, or students' perceptions of the school climate, or the parents' experiences in communicating with schools, or there's so many different topics. But whatever the topic is that you are using for your project, you have to complete a little review based on that topic. So this lead review will be part of your final paper. So we will be doing this as a small assignment, the lead review, and then it will be graded as an assignment in itself. But at the end of the semester, this lead review will become part of your larger project. So you will integrate the lead review into your final paper. In terms of the panel participant, the panel presentation, we will have small groups. Okay, I already divided the class into small groups, and each group will present on one of the 5 research designs that we are studying this semester. This semester we will be studying paradigms, beliefs, different interpretive frameworks in qualitative research work. The core of this class is the study of 5 research designs. Those 5 research designs are not the only ones in qualitative research, but those are the main designs used in qualitative research. There are others, and that I encourage you to explore and read about them. But in this class, we will discuss and learn about the 5 core qualitative research designs, including ethnographic research, case study research, grounded theory, phenomenology, and narrative research. Okay, and for the panel assignment, these small groups, okay, will be presenting. Each group will present on one of these designs. So if your group decides, or I assign, depending, sometimes the dynamic changes, I might assign you one of the designs to present for the class. So, and then each one of those panel presentations will be presented in a different week. For example, the first one is presented on week 6, is based on ethnographic research designs. And then the group presenting on ethnographic research will work as a group. Individually, each person in the group will summarize one of the readings for that week. Week 6 has a set of readings, so each based on ethnographic research. So each participant, each member of the group will analyze, summarize one of the research articles assigned for that week. And meaning that as an individual, you will summarize one of the articles. As a group, you will work with all the summaries and then prepare a PowerPoint presentation, which you will share with the other groups in the community of learners for that week, or the specific forum that I will open for that panel presentation that week. Okay, so from the beginning of the semester, once we identify the groups and decide what design you will be working on, you will work within your group and decide who is summarizing what article. And then as a group, you will present, you will provide the individual summaries for the class. So, and the PowerPoint presentation could be with a narrative. You can include digital, you can include voice recording, so to make it more accessible to other students. And then as a group, you will present in the PowerPoint description and narrative, the description of the design, the definition, the paradigms connected to that design. What is the design about? When you use that specific design, when you use an ethnographic design and not other the design. And then a summary of the each student could explain in the PowerPoint their own article, just to provide an example of how ethnographic research is used in those specific studies, okay? So that's how the panel presentation goes. So you will be presenting that week, and then in week 8, whoever comes, the next group will be presenting in a different, in the week that is assigned for the next design. I will be posting more information on the panels, the dynamics for the groups, but this is just to give you an idea on how this works. Each group will become expert on one specific design. Sometimes you are interested in conducting your project using, for example, a case study, but the panel presentation, you will be working, presenting on, let's say, phenomenology, designs. That's fine. You will be learning about one design in the panel. It doesn't have to be exactly the same that you are using for your individual project, even though sometimes they match, and that will be fine too, okay? You also have reflexive writing assignments. The reflective writing assignments are 2. There used to be 3 or 4. I just reduced this to 2 reflexive writing assignments. So you can, you will be writing one for week 1, based on your subjectivity, your values, who you are, how those values, how your beliefs or your paradigms, since we are reading about the topic in our class, so we can connect those with who I am and the values and the background, my personal background, my cultural background, my previous experiences, maybe my research background, how all those affect or influence the way I do research, or how do I think at this point that this background will have a connection or will influence me selecting a topic, or, the connection between me and how I think that could influence somehow my biases for, the population or the issues that we are addressing in our study. I also post some writings, some readings and materials discussing reflexivity in qualitative research. So please complete those readings, and I will give you more of an idea of what reflexive writing is. But it's just, at this point, will be specifically about your subjectivity. And the final one will have another kind of reflection connecting with the paradigms and, some of the other readings. We also have the critical friend activities, and this is a concept we are using for completing the peer feedback. Whether this is an online class or in-person class, we always benefit from interacting and working with our peers. At this point, all of us, all the students are going through the same process. So it's important that we learn from each other, and that we reflect on our own learning process in this class, and also learn from each other about each other's processes. In the critical friend, I provide also some guidance on how to address others' work, being respectful, but being honest and providing feedback on what you see, and then making suggestions of things that you see could be improved, or of course, providing positive comments if you see something that is informative, is actually helping you improve or your understanding of the project. There is specific description for each one of those assignments in each module, but I just want to give you some heads up about what it is about. The fieldwork project, is the first phase of the big project. Okay, so the big project we're splitting into two parts: the fieldwork project, phase 1, and then the qualitative research project, which will be your final paper, your final project. Okay, so the fieldwork project implies putting into practice, implementing all the learning that we are gaining in this first part of the semester. We will be reading about paradigms, we will be reading about the different designs, the use of qualitative research, and the fieldwork will be the implementation of that in the field. The fieldwork will include collecting data, interacting with the participants. So you will have to, by this point, you have to have an idea of the topic you want to study, and then with that in mind, what is the setting, who is your target population, where are you going to collect the data? So if you are interested in doing a study that is based on community, let's say an educational program in the community, and you want to see how a specific group of participants experience the program, or let's say how students experience peer interaction, peer pressure in the classroom. So let's say that in that case, you have to identify for the fieldwork your setting. So we identify the setting as the classroom. We identified our participants as the students interacting. We have to reflect on gaining access. How do we gain access to go be in the setting and collect our data? How we are going to collect our data. For qualitative research, there are some specific ways to collect data, because qualitative research, as I mentioned in some of my lecture videos, is or the other materials, has inquiry that will draw information in the form of narrative, meaning words, people's experiences, through interviews, through observation. We can interpret, we can describe people's experiences from observing them, from interviewing them, and the interviews will have different formats. So mainly the main one that we follow is semi-structured interviews. There are also structured interviews, but we'll be using semi-structured interviews, which are the main resource for collecting data besides observations. Okay, so the fieldwork will use those resources, will serve to for you to put in practice those and improve those skills as interviewer, as observer, and then for that we will be building our instruments, our data collection instruments. So that's why we will be reading about those. We will be creating our own data collection instruments, which we will be using in the fieldwork for interviewing participants. Could be interviewing teachers, interviewing students, or interviewing members of the community, if those are, your target population. Collecting the data, manipulating the data, meaning following the ethical procedures to manipulate your data, to safeguard those data, to the process of transcribing, interpreting, coding your data. All those are elements of the fieldwork paper, the fieldwork project. Okay, the fieldwork will serve to show your skills, to improve your skills and put in practice those skills as a researcher in the field, collecting the data, transcribing, analyzing, and reporting those. So as we advance in the semester, we will be working on learning about coding, learning about interpreting and reporting that. And all that part of the methodology, the fieldwork, the activity, the action part will be what is reported in the fieldwork. In the fieldwork, you will start with the description of the project, the problem, what is it that you want to address, the purpose of doing this, the research questions, your overarching research questions could be 1, 2, not too many, because we're talking about the overarching big questions. And then in the survey, I mean, in the interviews, in the observation, you can add multiple layers and more specific questions that go into the interviews, into the observation. Okay, could be questions or indicators that you want to collect data about. But the research questions in general are overarching, are fewer in number. And then the questions in the interviews are multiple and more detailed. I want you to keep that in mind from the beginning as you plan your field work. Then we move to the qualitative research proposal, which is the phase 2, is the big project. In this qualitative research proposal, you will combine, you will kind of bring together all the parts. You will include your lead review, reflexive, some of the reflexive writing will be included as part of the description of your subjectivity. And you will, of course, using content from the critical friend, if you had some good feedback and you could improve your paper, so those improvement and edited new versions of your assignments or paper will come, will be reflected in your qualitative research proposal. And then after you have your final paper, the phase 2, and there are also some rubrics included both in the syllabus and also in our Canvas. We'll have multiple samples. I encourage you to explore our Canvas and then look at the samples for the fieldwork, look at the samples for the final projects. I will be opening those materials as we advance, and getting familiar with the structure and how the small assignments will be fitting into the larger assignment. So participation, after that project, you complete your project, and this is an individual project, I could consider having 2 people working on one project, but it has to be that both have the interest in the same field, in the same issue, and then you're making a commitment to work. And then if we have 2 people working on an assignment, I will require a little extra work, and that will be discussed in a case-based way. So we'll do that. If you have something like that in mind, please get in touch with me, and we decide if it is appropriate for you to work with somebody else or individually. So in general, this assignment is individual, the big assignment. Participation in the discussion, please participate and start your posts early in the week, so we have a more substantial and conversation, and we allow everyone to participate and interact with others. Remember that we are a community of learners, and there is no wrong questions. So if you have doubts or questions about anything, ask your peers, ask me, email me. Feel free to interact with our learning, and we have to support each other in this process. Participation has to be meaningful, substantial. So even though we take those little times to support somebody else's post and say, I agree, I like your post, I like your points, or you make important points, but please make sure that you expand on those points and support all your posts, all the discussions, whether references to our readings, or I will be more than happy to see if you are if you include references, new references, other literature that also discuss the same topic, so to expand and improve, the quality of our discussion. In the syllabus, we have the description for each one of the assignments. The series certificate, make sure that you take the social and behavioral basic refresher, especially the basic, because you will be taking this from scratch, unless you already took it some time ago and you feel and your certificate is expiring, you can move to only the refresher. But this is the one that we need to take, the social and behavioral basic research refresher. Okay, that's the general name, but make sure that you complete the 14 modules to get the certificate. Otherwise, you will have to take it again if you take the wrong one. If you have any question or doubts, please contact me. The lit review, I'm asking you to complete a review of the literature, including 10 articles related to your topic, okay? The topic that you will be using for the project, for the class project. If you need help, you can contact the library. There are some experts in the library, Lisa Gerald. I don't know if she's still with the library, but anyways, you can stop by the library and ask for support for education, the education specialists, and then maybe ask you on how to look for information on the library website. If you cannot, because you are remote, you can contact them through this email, and then request how you can receive this service remotely. There is information about the panel participation, flexi writing, everything that I already mentioned. So remember that everything at the end of the semester, everything comes to join the final qualitative research proposal. I include the schedule. So we have the topics, we have the readings. These readings, I try to include all the readings, make it available for you on Canvas, and the assignments for each week. Mostly due on Saturday by the end of the day. Sometimes I also receive this. I know some of you work and then cannot make it on Saturday. Sunday morning is still fine. I won't be penalizing you for that because it's the weekend, so you can submit preferably by the end of Saturday or Sunday. Okay. If you have to submit late, please contact me ahead of, beforehand, so I can determine whether it is, appropriate depending on the situation. I will consider those. As I said, week 6, we start the panel presentations with ethnographic research. Then the next panel will be week 7 with grounded theory. So in the panel, information for the panels, you will see which weeks are the panels. And you will see here, assignment, panel presentation. So you will find here the information about when your panel is. If you are in the group, in the grounded theory panel group, you will be presenting the week of the 7. I will give you specific information in those modules on when you have to post and everything. Okay. This is all for now. You make sure that you check on the rubrics for the description for each one of the assignments. Okay. And let me know if you have any questions. Thank you, everyone.